today we are discussing in embryology about the development of mouth, teeth, tongue, pharynx and other some structures. So first let us start with development of mouth. So we know stomatium forms a future node mouth. We are saying it from many times. So this is what stomatium. It forms a ectodermal part, and this forms a buccopharyngeal membrane over here. And this one you can say it is the endoderm, and this is from the foregut. So foregut leads to endodermal part, and stomatium buccopharyngeal membrane gives the ectodermal part. So this is how later this disappears, buccopharyngeal membrane, and both together fuse like this. And this one you can see it's a lip, how lip forms, alveolar process, how teeth and gum form, cheek and tongue. And here you can see this is a flora of first developing mouth. And in the developing mouth, in the mouth we also have tongue, so developing tongue takes place. And lingulogingival sulcus, in the name only you can understand, it is a thing which sulcus which separates tongue from the developing mouth, tongue from the mandibular process. So this is a mandibular process. We know this, we are talking about lower lip, lower side, because lower side only we have tongue, right? So this is tongue, lingulogingival sulcus, and also another sulcus appears, that is labiogingival sulcus, which mainly separates labio means alveolar, gums, all those things from mandibular process. So you could see dental lamina is also forming here, from which a tooth arises. So we can say that between the labiogingival sulcus and lingulogingival sulcus, the alveolar process takes place, and the dental lamina is lining it over it, and the tooth eruption also takes place here. So and this is the lip. And so you can see the flora of mouth showing labiogingival and lingulogingival sulci. Here you can see the tongue, the alveolar process, that is where the teeth form. This is the lip, this is the labiogingival sulcus now, and this is the lingulogingival sulcus. So in between these two, teeth are present, and this is the cheek and this is the tongue. And I wrote one more thing here. You can see the dental lamina, which is present on an alveolar process. This is about teeth formation. We'll see it later. First let us go to theory part of mouth, so that we'll get a clear idea about it. So you can see mouth, that is partly formed from ectoderm and partly from endoderm, as we seen in the picture. So from ectodermal part is given by the stomatium, and endodermal part is given by foregut, as we see. So these both are after disappearance of buccopharyngeal membrane. It's hard to differentiate ectoderm and mesoderm after disappearance of buccopharyngeal membrane, because now at present the buccopharyngeal membrane is separating both. So if you remove them, it will be hard where is ectoderm. So we can't say specifically that mouth is ectodermal or endodermal in origin. So the line of junction between ectoderm and endoderm also disappears. So epithelium of lips, cheeks, palate is mainly ectodermal, and teeth and gums is also it is their lining. Epithelium means here the lining is lips, cheek, palate is ectodermal, but the teeth and gum origin is from a ectodermal origin, and the tongue epithelium is endodermal in origin, and the mandibular process forms lower lip, cheeks, jaw and tongue. The tongue separates from the mandibular process mainly by lingulogingival sulcus, as we discussed. So the labiogingival sulcus is at lower lip or at cheek. Between these two sulci we have, that is between this lingulogingival sulcus and labiogingival sulcus, we have our alveolar process which forms mainly jaw, teeth. So the tongue, alveolar process, lips, cheek separate from each other by this processes, and the roof of the mouth has palate, alveolar process of upper jaw separated from upper lip and cheek by mainly labiogingival furrow. And to the alveolar process medially we have palate which is arched over it. So this is all about mouth theory. We also check out the diagram. Now let us go to teeth diagrams, and next we will see the theory part. So actually teeth is having like cap stage, bell stage. So what is there in cap stage? Once let us check out. You can see actually the dental lamina is an ectodermal lining which form on the alveolar process, And next the enamel organ is formed over there, and the dental papilla is formed, and it forms a tooth germ, and this is what cap stage. So cap stage have dental lamella on alveolar process, enamel organ, dental papilla, tooth germ, which form the cap stage. Next we have the cap stage is next converted into Bell stage. In Bell stage we have ameloblast, odontoblast, and pulp of the tooth. So ameloblast, it is ectodermal in origin, we know it gives rise to enamel, and odontoblast is mesodermal in origin and it gives rise to dentine. So in between ameloblast and odontoblast we have the basement membrane, and along with pulp they form the Bell stage. Now we'll check out the diagrams over here. So you can see first there's a palate. This is a maxillary process. This is towards the upper lip and cheek, you can imagine it. And here you can see the labiogingival furrow is formed first, and this is the cheek. This is the arched palate. As I said, medially we have arched palate. So this is the alveolar process. This is the labiogingival furrow and cheek. Here in the alveolar process, now the dentine papilla is ectodermal lining which forms over it and leads to formation of teeth. So you can see this is how the dental lamina is laid down, and the enamel organs are formed later like this. In relation to the dental lamina, enamel organs are formed. And next, so the process of teeth eruption takes place like this. So first the dental lamina is lining on the alveolar process, and the dental lamina, you can see it is forming an enamel organ, so it forms like a bulging like this, and later this is what called as cap stage. And here you can see the dental papilla cells are aggregated, they form a mass or colony over here, and this is an enameler organ. And now lining to this, the ameloblast cells are formed, and here the mesenchymal cells are formed, and both and bud of a permanent tooth. Actually permanent tooth and milk tooth, this is a milk tooth first, and medially will have permanent tooth. After losing of milk tooth, this permanent tooth comes and it stays in the lifelong of a person. So here you can see this is the ameloblast. Now over the ameloblast, odontoblast is formed, and here the cells of the pulp are formed. So finally, when you see this is a part of a developing tooth, ameloblast is laid down enamel, odontoblast lay down dentine, and ossification in relation to mesenchymal cells surrounding the developing tooth forms a jaw. So once let's see what are there in this structure. So from inside to outside you can see first you have odontoblast. Next, if you observe, the ameloblast cells are forming the dentine, right? So you can see here the dentine is formed, and this is the pulp, this is the odontoblast, and this is the enamel. And here you can see outer wall of enamel organ is disappearing, and the surface ectoderm, dental lamina, outer wall of enamel organ is disappearing, and this is a part of developing jaw. So this is a temporary tooth which is erupting out. So now we can understand this is an enamel, this is an dentine. So enamel is formed by ameloblast, dentine by odontoblast, right? So still odontoblast is inside, and this is the bone of the jaw, this is the epithelium of the gum. Here's inside papilla, and the germ of a permanent teeth is still here. So after losing this temporary teeth, the permanent teeth next erupts, and it stay permanently in a life. So here you can see the germs of permanent teeth, and here molars are formed before birth. Before birth only they calcify, but last two molars only form or only calcify after the birth. You can see till here these are milk teeth. We have two incisors, one canine, and two premolars. So you can see these are the germs of the permanent teeth. Once we'll see here the origin of germs of permanent teeth. Germs of permanent incisors, canines, premolars are formed in relation to temporary teeth. Permanent molars arise from the dental lamina behind the part that gives rise to temporary teeth. You can also see the temporary or milk teeth. The lower central incisor takes it is erupted 6 to 9 months. Upper incisors 8 to 10 months. Lower lateral incisors 12 to 20 months. First molar 12 to 20 months, and canine 16 to 20. Second molars 20 to 39 months. But coming to the permanent teeth, the first molar 6 to 7 years. Central incisors 6 to 8. Lateral incisors 7 to 9. Premolars 10 to 12. Canines 10 to 12. Second molars 11 to 13 years, third molars 17 to 21 years. So till 21 years the permanent teeth are erupting and erupting. So summary of derivation of parts of the tooth here you can see like ectoderm, amyloblast gives to enamel, mesoderm of neural carcinogen, odontoblast to dentine, and mesenchyme around the tooth form cementum and periodontal ligament. So we'll come to the teeth theory part. So in alveolar process, they are formed mainly epithelial lining, epithelium thickening around it projects into the underlying mesoderm, that is nothing but a dental lamina. So dental lamina is the curved epithelium which is lined, and dental lamina thickenings form milk tooth, enamel organs, thickenings are those thickening, as we said in dental lamina there are thickenings. Those thickenings are nothing but the enamel organ, which are about 10 and 5 are present on the each side. And the dental lamina proliferate mainly, and next the enamel organ grows downward to the mesenchyme, and the alveolar process and the lower end cup shaped along with the mesenchyme. The mesenchyme is from neural crest cells form the dental papilla, and the enamel organ along with the dental papilla together form a tooth germ. So tooth germ look like a cap, and this is known as cap stage. So the cells lining the papilla are columnar and they are called amyloblasts, which form from the ectoderm. And the mesodermal cells of papilla next to the ameloblast are orange as continuous epithelial layer. Cells of this layer are called odontoblasts. And the ameloblasts along with the odontoblasts separated by a basement membrane. And remaining cells in the papilla form the pulp of the tooth. So now it looks like a bell, then it is known as bell stage. So whenever it is forming pulp, then it is called as bell stage, and whenever it is forming tooth germ, it is called as cap stage. And next, root of the tooth, continuous growth of the mesenchyme. In the root of the tooth there is continuous growth of mesenchyme, and the pulp space become narrower, turn to the canal, later turn to the canal. So now nerves and blood vessels start passing to them. In the region of root has no amyloblasts, and dentine covered by mesenchymal cells differ into cementoblasts, which lay down the dense bone called cementum outside. It has periodontal ligament which connects to the root to the socket in the jawbone. And next, ameloblast is forming enamel. On the outer it has basement membrane, and after enamel is formed, ameloblast it disappears and forms a dental cuticle. But odontoblast, the dentine is deep surface and continue to separate. It is not degenerated, but ameloblast is degenerated later, remember that. Next, coming to permanent teeth. Permanent teeth, you have dental lamina. In the 6th week it forms buds of dental lamina. Posterior to milk teeth it forms some buds, those are permanent. Molars are formed, but it also forms medial side milk tooth, and buds form enamel organs. Permanent incisors, canines and premolars are formed. So this is important. And next, at birth the germs of temporary teeth, permanent incisors, canines and first molars show development. So only molars, canines and permanent incisors are present, and the germs of permanent premolars and second molars are rudimentary. The germ of third molar formed only after the birth. Developing germs undergo calcification, and all temporary and permanent lower first molar begin calcification before birth. So the permanent calcification takes place after the birth at different ages. After eruption of tooth, the development of root takes place. Next, coming to temporary or milk teeth. Here you already seen in which days it developed. Now let us say anomalies in teeth. Sometimes there are 2 or more teeth absent or present, or complete absent of the teeth, then it is known as anodentia. And supernumerary tooth may be present with cusps or roots which may be less or normal, and individual teeth may be absent or abnormal. They may be large or small, and 2 or more teeth fuse, and it is called gemination. And there may be alignment of upper and lower teeth in an incorrect abnormal manner, that is called as malocclusion. 1 or more anomalies or defects may be present in the jaws, and eruption of teeth, that is too early or sometimes lower incisor part at the birth, and eruption is delayed and third molar fail to erupt. Teeth is in abnormal location, sometimes in ovary hypophysis cerebri, and improper formation of enamel or dentin of the tooth may also takes place. So mainly tongue development is associated with pharyngeal arches. So you can see all the arches. You can also check my video in pharyngeal arches to get a clear detail. So in pharyngeal arches, in the first arch we have two sides lingual swelling, and in middle tubercular impar, and here it's a foramen cecum from which the thyroglossal duct moves and to form a thyroid gland. And from second arch to up to fourth arch there is a eminence, a midline structure called as hypobranchial eminence, and second and third arch form the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence, and the fourth arch forms the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. And this is the tracheal groove, and this is the sixth arch. The fifth arch has disappeared, we know that. So how this pharyngeal arch is related to development of tongue? Now let us correlate here. So in the name you can understand lingual swelling means it is leading to formation of tongue. So two lingual swellings, tubercular impar and foramen cecum, and the cranial part and the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. So this you can see lingual swelling and the tubercular impar. Here's the foramen cecum. So the anterior one third of the tongue is mainly formed by all these structures, that is first arch of pharyngeal part. And here you can see this blue part, cranial part, that is from second and third arch. It is mainly forming the posterior one third of the tongue. You have the posterior one third of the tongue. It is mainly by third arch, because third arch overgrows over the second arch. So only third arch is seen in the posterior part of the tongue. And the posterior most part of the tongue that is formed by caudal part, that is from the fourth pharyngeal arch. So you can see the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. This is the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. This is sulcus terminalis, foramen cecum, and epiglottis. Epiglottis is also formed from the caudal part, that is fourth pharyngeal arch. So you can see first arch, second arch. This is from lateral or side view, you can say. So first arch. So why we are showing this mainly is to show that third arch is overgrowing over the second arch. So you can see how it is very clear. So posterior part of tongue is mainly made from third arch of hypobranchial eminence, but not from second arch, because even second arch is present but third arch is covering over it. So that's it all about our last part. That's it, we don't have any other furthermore diagrams. So finally we'll go to our theory part and conclude this chapter. So we know tongue it forms in relation to pharyngeal arches in the floor of developing mouth, and the meso-thickening in the lateral wall of the forehead go ventrally continuous to the opposite side, and the medial most part proliferate to form two lingual swellings, midline swelling, tubercular impar, and from foramen cecum they have downgrowth thyroglossal duct which forms a thyroid gland. The midline swelling, that is a hypobranchial eminence, subdivides into cranial part and caudal part. Cranial part have second, third arch, also called copula, and the caudal part is made up of mainly fourth arch, which also forms a epiglottis. And the anterior 2/3 of the tongue is by fusion of tubercular impar and two lingual swellings. So we can say anterior 2/3 of the tongue is derived from the mandibular arch, that is first arch, and they are supplied by nerves by lingual branch of mandibular nerve, because it's from first arch. We know first arch is supplied by mandibular nerve, so lingual branch of mandibular nerve. As we know, first arch has post-traumatic and pre-traumatic nerves. So post-traumatic nerve of the first arch also acts on it, and also a pre-traumatic nerve, that is a quadrate tympani, is also acting on it. And next we have posterior 1/3 as a cranial part, that is mainly by hypobranchial eminence, which is called as scopula. It is the third arch and it is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. So by the pharyngeal arches only we can easily find out the nerve supply also. So the posterior most part is the fourth arch. It's superior laryngeal nerve, that is a vagus nerve, that is a fourth arch. So it is supplied by superior pharyngeal laryngeal nerve of vagus nerve. Next let us see the musculature. So musculature actually it is formed by occipital myotomes, which is supplied by hypoglossal nerve. So epithelium, first it will be single, later it is stratified, and the papilla are also being evident over there, and the taste bulbs are also later formed. So development starts in the fourth week. So let us see some anomalies in a tongue, like sometimes tongue may be too large, then it is called macroglossia. If it is too small, microglossia. And sometimes tongue is completely absent, it is a rare condition, then it is called aglossia. And bifid tongue may be present because of not complete fusion of lingual swellings, and apical part sometimes attached to the floor of the mouth by overdevelopment of frenulum, it is present in the posterior part of the tongue, right? Even you can feel it now, but if I feel it, I can't talk properly. And it is called as ankyloglossia or tongue tie. It interferes with the speech. That's it, what I was saying now. So tongue along with the palate form ankyloglossia superior. So red rhomboid smooth one in front of the foramen cecum. It is due to persistence of tubercular impar. Thyroid present in the tongue either under mucosa or within mucosa. This is the anomaly. And remnant of thyroglossal duct forms a cyst sometime at the base of the tongue, and the surface of the tongue may also sometimes form fissures. Now let us move on to salivary glands. So salivary glands are nothing but the outgrowths of the buccal epithelium. So the outgrowth first may be solid, later it gets canalized and the branch to form the duct system, and the terminal parts mainly form the secretory acini, you know that. So salivary glands mainly develop between ectoderm of stomatium and endoderm of foregut, same like our mouth, and it differentiates to, and it is also difficult to determine because later the bucconasal, bucconasal membrane ruptures and both gets together, right? And parotid gland, it is one of the salivary gland. It is also outgrowth which is formed at the line which maxillary and mandibular process fuse from the cheek, so it is formed in that area. So parotid outgrowth is ectodermal in origin. And next, coming to submandibular and lingual, they are in relation to the linguoginginal sulcus. This is of endothelial in origin. And next we have our salivary glands sometimes, and sometimes this is anomaly, like sometimes salivary glands may be only absent in some people. Next, let us move to tonsils. So here we have palatine tonsil, the lateral part of the second pouch, that is our endodermal pouches. So it is an endodermal organ which proliferates and invades the mesoderm of the second arch and forms the tonsillar stroma. So here the lymphocytes collect. These lymphoblasts are mainly coming from the liver, and the most pouch is obliterated by these lymphocytes, and aggregation of lymphoid tissue is called tubal tonsils, lingual tonsils, pharyngeal tonsils, all this. Next, coming to pharynx. Pharynx is a cranial part of the foregut. It is also having endothelial pouches in the lateral wall of foregut, and the floor of the foregut has midline diverticulum, that is where it is represented by inlet of larynx, and entire respiratory system is developed from this midline diverticulum. So this opening of pharyngotympanic tube represents the site of origin of tubotympanic recess, and palate, mouth, pharynx show the subdivision into naso-oro, that is nasopharynx, oropharynx, laryngopharynx, and the muscles forming the wall of pharynx are mainly derived from 3 and subsequent pharyngeal arches. So this is all about a quick overview or quick revision of our textbook lesson, that is development of mouth, teeth, tongue, pharynx, and also salivary glands, etc. all those things. So if you like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.